Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Right off the bat, I gotta tell you that I filmed this makeup look today. If I haven't posted it yet, then keep an eye out for it. I did just finish filming it, and it is like 100 degrees in this room right now. It is so hot, and I can't have the fan on because it'll interfere with the sound, but I can feel the sweat forming between my thighs and dripping down my calves. So I'm gonna try to get through this video as quickly as I can and not be too long-winded, although that's almost impossible for me because I like to do a lot of this. Today's video is a little bit different, but it's something that has been on my mind pretty much since I started my YouTube channel, and if you guys have been with me from the very beginning or followed me on any form of social media, you will know that fitness and clean eating are a huge part of my life. And I've talked about doing videos like this on my channel for so long, but I never did because there wasn't enough of a demand for it. But recently, many of you have reached out to me and have asked me for a little bit of motivation and to sort of give you my fitness journey. And that will include where I started, where I'm at now, and how I plan to continue on. Before I get started, I have to do the obvious disclaimers for those who are new to my channel or just happen to stumble upon this video. Everything I'm about to share with you is from personal experience. I am not a personal trainer, I'm not a nutritionist, I'm not a dietitian, I'm not a doctor, I'm not an expert by any means. Anything I've achieved up to this point has been due to research, learning what works for me, and basically being my own guinea pig for about 5 to 6 years. Although I'm going to share my personal experience with you and give you some tips, answer some of your questions, I am in no way trying to push my lifestyle on anybody. Your life is yours. You do with it whatever your little heart desires. It's 100% up to you. I'm just here filming this video because you guys have asked me to. And to be completely honest, I'm just sitting here keeping this very conversational the exact same way I would one-on-one with a friend, and the exact same way I have with many of my friends that have approached me on the subject and that have wanted a little bit of motivation and some guidance. I am doing this video for you guys, but in a way I'm kind of doing it for myself. I feel like on the days where I get less motivated and completely forget the end goal, I can come back, watch this video, and sort of get my mojo back. So when I watch these types of videos, either on fitness or careers or anything to do with achieving your goals and succeeding in whatever you put your mind to, I always want to know where the person started, what their struggles were, what made them decide to finally change, and how they finally succeeded in doing whatever they put their mind to. Call me crazy, but some of you might actually relate to this. I feel much more inclined taking the advice of somebody who I know felt the struggle, or struggled in the same way that I have. Like, you know when you're listening to a motivational speech about careers and entrepreneurship, and they're talking about not having a penny to their name, crashing on their friends' couches, and then eventually down the road they finally made it. I feel so much more inclined to take the advice of people who have had some type of struggle because I feel like I relate to that. And when it comes to fitness, I know it sounds silly, but I want to hear the fat kid struggle. I was a chubby kid, you know what I mean? I want to hear about the ups and downs. I want to hear about hard work and how easy it is to fall off the wagon. I don't want to hear about somebody rocking like a six-pack fresh out the womb, if you know what I'm saying. I want a struggle story that I can relate to. I'm going to try to keep my backstory brief because A, you guys don't want to be sitting here for half an hour watching me, and B, there's a puddle forming inside my cleavage and my shorts are getting soaked from my own sweat. But I do feel it's important for me to talk about my childhood and my backstory because it sort of paved the way for my adult life. So for those of you who are new to my channel, I am Romanian. I was born in Romania. I lived in Romania from when I was born until I was 3 years old. Then we moved to Germany until I was 6. Then we came back to Romania until I was 8. And then we moved to Canada. So when I was little, I was just your average, super active kid. My mom cooked at home a lot. We ate a lot of home-cooked meals. Fast food wasn't really in our vocabulary because in Europe, at that time anyway, I hadn't even heard of McDonald's or any fast food chains. And I was always outside playing pretty much every chance I got. So when we moved to Canada, I was 8. And my parents moved here with like 3 pieces of luggage, 2 kids, and their passports. We had literally nothing. My parents sold everything in Europe, and so when we got here, they had to work their asses off to give us the same type of life that we had in Europe. My parents were always at work because they're trying to grind it out and, you know, give us a future. So fast food became a pretty big part of my life, and although my parents still cooked at home, it was a lot harder for them to maintain that type of lifestyle, and they really didn't know any better. I mean, you see convenience in fast food, so naturally you give that to your kids, and when a kid at the age of 8 gets that first taste of fast food, they're always going to be asking for it. So I would say within maybe 6 to 8 months of living in Canada, I ballooned. I pretty much doubled in size, and I 100% blame it on the food in North America. I don't know if any of you guys are from Europe or have traveled to both North America and Europe. The food is 110% different. It's like night and day. Not only did I start consuming a lot of fast food, I wasn't as physically active because I was new to Canada. I didn't have as many friends. I wasn't running around being crazy outside like I did for the first 8 years of my life. So my metabolism definitely slowed down. If I can find some pictures of my before Canada and after Canada to insert, I definitely will, because I feel like that is pretty much what paved the way for me to be chubby growing up, unhealthy, inactive. So needless to say, elementary school was just a grand old fucking time. Obviously I got picked on. It was like the easiest thing anybody could ever say about me was, yeah, well, you're fat. And luckily growing up, you know, I didn't develop any body image issues because of the fact that I was picked on. I really only looked at the kids around me that were being mean to me, and I just kind of wondered, like, why are they so mean? It was never, why do I look this way, or maybe I should change something about myself. It was always like, you're fucked up. Like, there's something off with you to be so mean for no reason and to always be going after the fact that I'm chubby. Obviously, a lot of kids go through that in elementary school. If you don't get picked on because you're chubby, you get picked on because you have buck teeth or your name or just stupid childish stuff, but it happened pretty much from grade 4 until grade 7. In terms of my childhood, I definitely struggled with my weight, and I believe that my inactivity and my diet and the things that I was putting into my body were key factors as to why I literally expanded before my own eyes. I do, on some level, hold my parents accountable, and I have had this conversation with them where I ask them, like, what were you thinking feeding me that shit? But at the same time, I do sympathize with them because I understand they were busy and they were trying to give us, you know, a normal life so that we didn't feel the transition from moving across the world and not having the things that we had back in our homeland. So that weight struggle definitely followed me into high school. I would say grade 8 and 9 were my most difficult years because things were changing in my body. Aunt Flo came for the first time. My boobs were growing. I was confused. I looked confused. It kind of makes me sad looking back at pictures because I want to help myself. You know, obviously I would come to my parents with it and say, I kind of want us to start eating healthier, you know, let's all get on this together. But when you have really hardworking parents, the last thing they care about is you looking great. As long as you're being fed and you're getting your nutrients, the extra carbs and the fats and the sugars aren't like a priority to remove out of your diet, to parents anyway. And I think it comes from a nurturing thing with parents. I want to say that it's a nurturing thing, especially mothers. I'm not a mother myself, so I can't speak for moms, but I feel like when they have a baby, their first instinct is to keep it alive and to feed it. And so when they're feeding you and they see you growing, that's all they're thinking about. They're thinking, this is my baby, I'm gonna raise it and I'm gonna grow it. And if they're chubby, they'll grow out of it. It's just baby fat. Like, that's what my parents used to always say to me, like, oh, come on, Irina, you're gonna grow out of it eventually. And I was like, no, you guys, like, you make this really hard because you're not on board with me. If I say I want to start eating healthy and you buy all the shitty things that I love that have zero nutritional value that I'm gonna inhale the second I come home from school, it's not gonna help me. And I think that is the issue that a lot of adolescent teenagers have. You want it, you feel like you're gonna start something, you want to get on the right path, and your parents, who are the breadwinners, who provide you with food, buy shitty stuff. If I could go back in time and start early, I 110% would. And I wish that I had, you know, an older sibling who gave a shit about me. My brother and I are 8 years apart, so he doesn't really care about anything. He just made things worse. Like, he made fun of me growing up. I wish that I had an older sibling or somebody to guide me or somebody to understand what I was going through, and I had none of that. So yeah, in high school, I felt really sluggish and I felt really shitty, and it's the point where I kind of started to be a little bit more active. I started trying to go running and try to take care of myself and try to watch what I eat, but it was never in a responsible way. I wouldn't say I had body image issues, thankfully. Obviously, I was like, girl, you could, you know, use some exercise, because I was always out of proportion. I had a little bit more here, a little bit more there, but for the most part, I wanted to make a change because I felt really shitty internally, not emotionally. Every once in a while, obviously, I'd get into an argument with someone at school, and the first thing they would say is, yeah, well, you're fat, which, growing up, when people would call me fat or would attack me in any way that had to do with the exterior, I just brushed it off, and I would usually snap back with, yeah, well, you're a really shitty fucking person and I wouldn't want to be you. Like, I hit them where it hurts, and I feel like I was like that pretty much since I was little. That's just how I rolled, and that's still how I roll, and I think it's because my dad always taught me how to stand up for myself and basically told me not to take shit from anybody. So anyway, in high school, my head was never in the right place. As I said, I feel sluggish and I feel gross, but I wouldn't mind looking good by this date. Like, I always set dates for myself. For example, I need to get into shape so I can be in shape for grad, so I can look good in my grad dress. It was never like, you know, I need to change my life forever so that I could live a longer, healthier life and I could be a strong, fit woman. It was always, well, I'm gonna get fit for this. And I think this is where I can insert my first tip, is make sure now, tomorrow, the next day, that you're changing your life for the right reasons. This, I know, sounds repetitive, and I know you've probably heard it everywhere, and it sounds really cheesy, but this isn't a short-term thing. What you decide to do with your health and your fitness needs to be a lifestyle change. You need to change it from now until the rest of your life. And my second tip would be, start now. Don't start next week. Don't start Monday. I know people say like, oh, start Monday. Monday's the best day to start. No, start the second you finish watching this video. Start writing down all your reasons and start planning how you're gonna achieve your goal. If you're gonna put it off until Monday, chances are you're gonna eat the world up until Monday, and on Monday you're gonna feel like shit. That's what I used to do. I used to be like, okay, Monday I'm gonna start. So up until Monday, I would treat myself like shit, and I would eat horrible things, and I'd be like, oh, this is my last meal, like the last supper, as if I'm gonna go fucking die or something. I'm really only, you know, starting a new page of my life that's only gonna make my life better, but I always treated it as this horrible thing that I'm gonna start on Monday. So start now, looking online for the best gym membership price. Start looking online for workouts that you can do tonight. Start researching healthy recipes. Start writing down a schedule of when you're gonna work out. Eventually in high school, in grade 11 and 12, I did start going to the gym. I started going with my dad at first, and he paid for my gym membership, which was really nice. He would work out downstairs, I would work out upstairs in like the ladies only area, but I never really knew what I was doing. It was the eating that kind of worked against me. So I started this program at my gym. This personal trainer gave us like a book this thick with recipes and how to change your life and, you know, how to change your diet and whatnot, and it required me to go to the grocery store and buy like a ton of groceries to start this new life of mine. So my dad took me to the grocery store, we bought everything we needed, I baked all this healthy shit, and that lasted about a month before I fell off the wagon because I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. And although I bought all that healthy stuff and I was baking up a storm, my parents were still buying shit. So it made it really hard to stay focused because I wasn't mentally strong enough to stick with my program because I didn't want it enough. And I think that's where tip or observation number 3 comes in. You need to work on your mind. 99% of the time time, it's mind over matter. Your body is capable of all sorts of shit. Your body is strong. Women especially, we give birth, we make life. It's not a question of whether or not we're capable of doing anything. You can do anything. You're strong. You have arms and legs and a beating heart and lungs. You're set. But if your mind isn't in it, you're not gonna see results. And that was my biggest, and still is my biggest struggle, especially when I fall off the wagon once in a while and I give up on myself. It all starts with the mind. And it's because I make excuses, and I'm totally talking to myself right now because I've been going through a little bit of this the last few weeks. I make excuses that I'm tired and that I'm busy and that I'm this and I'm that. And that is how I know that my mind is not in the right place. The second I start making excuses is the second I feel like I've lost control, if you know what I mean. And this doesn't just go with fitness and weight loss and healthy eating. I think there's studies that show, even when you're going through an illness or you're battling something, if your mind isn't in the right place, you're not gonna get better. You could be in the shittiest place ever, and if you're positive and you massage your mind and you tell yourself, I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna beat this, you have a better chance. So high school was over and done with, thank Christ. I was never a big fan of high school, so I started post-secondary school, and throughout those years, I started becoming a little bit more serious about the gym, but I still did the whole let's work out to reach this goal weight. I based everything on weight, which was a huge mistake. I mean, goals are great, don't get me wrong, but I feel like I was looking at this number as if I had any idea what the number represented. All I knew was that I wanted to weigh less than I did. So I think at my heaviest, I'm 5'7" by the way, I weighed around 155 or 160 pounds. Maybe even 165, and I held it really well, but I was always out of proportion. I wasn't sleeping properly, I wasn't eating properly, especially when I was in post-secondary. I was pulling all-nighters, and I started developing like stomach problems. I had an ulcer at one point. It was just a hot mess. I just wasn't feeling right, and I wasn't looking right. So throughout post-secondary, I was in a relationship, and then near the end of post-secondary, I got out of that relationship, and it took a huge toll on me emotionally. It was a really, really terrible breakup. I found myself with a lot more time on my hands, and I started emotionally working out, which was great at the time because I was becoming more active. I had so much more time to do these things, and I started losing a lot of weight. I wasn't lifting weights though. That was probably my biggest mistake, which leads me to my next tip. You need to lift weights. Do not fear weightlifting. Women have this complex when it comes to weightlifting, and they say they're gonna get bulky, or they're gonna get big, or they're gonna look like a man, or they're gonna lose their neck. That is not at all the case. Drink lots of water, get lots of sleep, and lift weights. The second I started lifting weights is the second my body finally started to transform. So I had gone through that shitty breakup. I started doing a lot of home workouts. I started running outside. I started becoming more active because I had more time on my hands, and it felt like a form of therapy. And once I got over it, I wasn't sad anymore. I continued to work out because I realized fitness is what makes me feel good, and then it became a therapeutic thing for me. I became addicted to feeling great. My insides felt better, my skin was clearing up, I was obviously noticing like a dramatic change in my body, and it has 110% to do with the fact that I started lifting weights. If you're only doing cardio, yes, you're gonna lose fat, but what I experienced myself is that I lost fat, but there was a very high chance if I stopped doing that cardio that I would gain it right back. Whereas when you're weightlifting, you're actually building your body, and your body is becoming stronger, and you develop muscles which in turn burn fat and help you achieve your goals even faster. And I wish I knew that earlier on in my life, that I should maybe try squatting, I should try doing things outside of my comfort zone, but I didn't know any better, and I was intimidated. I will admit I was intimidated going to like a weight room with a bunch of dudes, but then I kind of started developing this like jail mentality. If you are threatened by males in the weight room, think of them as spiders. they're more afraid of you than you are of them. When a girl walks into a weight room with confidence and she knows what she's doing, or you know, she's trying to the best of her ability, sometimes you'll get a head nod. There's like props there, like, you know, I see you, I see what you're doing. You'll be surprised how many times you could ask someone working out at the gym how to use something and they'll likely show you. I mean, what are they gonna say? No. And in terms of eating, I just cleaned it up. It was slow, and that's probably my next tip, is don't just start cutting everything out of your diet, because chances are, more often than not, you're gonna fall off the wagon so quick and binge, and you're just gonna be back at point A. So if you're thinking of cleaning up your diet, start really slow. This whole process, this whole lifestyle is very slow. You have to be very realistic, otherwise you're gonna fail. Don't compare yourself to other people. Don't give yourself goals like, oh, I wanna look like that Victoria's Secret model, or don't try to be someone else. Be who you are and be the best version of yourself that you can be. Personally, I don't compare myself to anybody. Yes, I can appreciate the female form and I can be like, yeah, that girl's hot, but I don't want to be anybody but me. So be true to yourself and sort of sculpt your goals around who you are and who you want to be as you. Don't get caught up in trying to be somebody else or trying to look a certain way. Another thing I want to touch on is comparison is the thief of joy. And this can go with fitness, it can go with pretty much anything in life, but Instagram can be a great place for inspiration. I'll go on Instagram to find new recipes or new exercises and stuff like that. But, you know, a couple of profile creeps later and you're comparing yourself to fitness models and to these figures that you don't think you can ever attain for yourself. And I think that's kind of where I draw the line with Instagram. Although it's a great place for inspiration and I gain a lot from Instagram, with fitness accounts, you don't know what that person went through exactly to get to where they are. All you're seeing is like a reel of their accomplishments. And that goes for Instagram in general. It can be a place for inspiration, but it can be a place to shit on yourself and make yourself feel really bad. Fitness accounts, for example, you know, yeah, you can see exercises and things. A lot of it is just like butt shots and, let's be real, guys taking off their shirts and flexing with oil all over. This goes for guys and girls. Don't compare yourself to somebody's greatest hits. Do you know what I'm saying? You have no idea what that person went through to achieve that body. You don't know if they were just like you and they got to where they are, or, you know, if they have always been fit and they just worked out a little bit more and got to where they are, or if they're taking roids, or if they have butt implants, or what their story is. You don't know any of it. Don't compare yourself to it. You have a different body. You are a different person, you have different goals, and just focus on yourself. And if you can sort of just, you know, pick through what inspires you on Instagram, like myself, that's cool. Like, I'll go and I'll get inspiration, and then after a while, if I notice myself too like hypnotized by someone's page and I'm just noticing that I'm kind of like looking down on myself, looking all weird and feeling all weird, then I just leave. And I'm like, you're doing that thing you said you weren't gonna do. As you guys are going through it, I'm going through it too. It's a day-by-day process. Sometimes I'm like 10 steps ahead, and then other days I'm like 1 step ahead, 2 steps back. So just think about that. Start slow. If you have a sweet tooth, start cutting things out. Like, let's say you drink a ton of pop. Pop, by the way, is just the devil. Sugar in general is just the devil. And although I don't drink pop, I have a sweet tooth and I love me some treats. So that is something that I'm always working towards, is trying to find alternatives to not eating so many sweets. Don't do whatever you know is your #1 weakness. Try to wean that off. Start replacing certain things in your eating. Let's say you love, you know, eating out. Start cooking at home. It's hard at first, but start slowly. I am at the point right now where I feel like I've got a grasp on the things that I put into my body. On the days where I know I'm gonna lift really heavy, yeah, I can eat an extra X, Y, and Z because I'm gonna be burning more than I eat that day. Because I weightlift And because I try to lift heavier and heavier every time I work out, I can enjoy certain foods more because you're gonna burn so much more when you're lifting weights than when you're doing cardio. For example, when you're doing just straight cardio, you're burning calories while you're doing cardio, and that's where it ends. When you're weightlifting, you're burning calories while you're weightlifting, and your muscles continue to burn throughout the day. That is why weightlifting is so much better than solely doing cardio. And that is something that I wish I knew earlier on. When you do cardio only, you lose fat, and sometimes, yes, you may look a little bit different, a little bit thinner, but it's not forever. Whereas with weightlifting, you're sculpting your body to what you want it to look like. And although you can't target certain areas, like there's no such thing as, oh, I want to lose just fat in my arms, or I want to lose just fat here. You overall lose fat everywhere. You just have way more control with lifting weights than you do just with cardio. One thing that is great about weightlifting, you can go from having a pancake booty to a big ol' apple bottom booty, if you know what I'm saying. And I am perfect proof of that. I did not have a butt. I had big boobs growing up, no butt. Now, the butt is coming, the boobs are long gone. I mean, they're still here sometimes. Whenever they feel like playing emotional games with me, they'll just show up out of nowhere. But one thing I noticed is that I did lose my boobs. Many of you will, if you get serious about it. Chances are, if you have really huge boobies, you will go down a couple cup sizes, but it's so worth all the other changes in your body. I feel like I'm going on tangents again while inserting a couple tips here and there. There is a mosquito in here that is gonna get murked so hard when I'm done filming this. Actually, there's two. There's a giant one and there's a little one. You guys might have seen him buzzing around me. Currently, I am still 5'7", and I would say I'm around 125 pounds, give or take 5 pounds here and there. The reason I'm unsure about how much I weigh is because we don't have a scale in this household. I base everything off of measurements or just looking at myself in the mirror. I take a lot of photos that I keep obviously for myself to just see my progress. I could weigh a certain number and look one way, and weigh the exact same number and look completely different depending on what I'm doing to achieve those goals. Muscle weighs more than fat. Don't focus too much on the number. Don't focus too much on losing weight. It's not about that. You need to focus on looking healthy, feeling great internally and mentally. Focusing on the number can work against you. Stressing out over a pound or two, it's not worth it. If you clean up your diet and you work out and you lift weights, you're gonna feel better internally, and the physical shit is just gonna be a bonus, and it's gonna come with it. Everything takes time. It took me like 4 or 5 years to figure it out, and I'm still figuring it out. For the rest of the year, I'm gonna try squatting heavier and deadlifting heavier. I just wanna be really, really strong waist down. I want nice muscular legs. I want a huge ass. If money is a concern for you, which I understand, think about it as a long-term investment and start slow. Let's say you can't afford a gym membership. Run outside. There are objects around your house that are heavy enough that you could use as weights. If you don't have objects like that and you're looking for an expensive alternative, I'm pretty sure Walmart has like a whole kit full of weights that you can put together at home. I think they're like 50 bucks. I purchased them a really long time ago before I started going to the gym, and they work just fine. If your mind is in it and you want it, you'll find ways to get it. Something tells me that I am talking to a few makeup junkies right now, and tell me this: do you not find some way to scrounge up some extra cash when a new palette comes out or a new hot product that everybody's been waiting for? If there's a will, there is a way, my friends. Don't even lie to me. You find ways to buy your favorite makeup products, just like I do. You kind of have to think of it the same way, and for a long time, I was a student, so I wasn't really making anything, and I just used what I could. I started watching videos on YouTube. I started lifting random shit around my house, and I made it work. You'd be surprised how many workouts you can do in your own home with things that are in your own home. It's incredible. Obviously, if I see that there's interest in this video, then I'll do other videos that cover supplements, nutrition, at-home workouts, you know, resources that you might find helpful. I am here to help. I'm here to motivate you, which is what I'm hoping this video did. And if I can help in any other way by, breaking it down into different categories, I am more than happy to do that for you. I didn't have anybody guiding me when I started. I didn't know shit. I went on the internet and I researched. I researched supplements. I researched eating. I researched recipes. I researched workouts. I would, creep on people at the gym and watch what they are doing. And now, luckily, my boyfriend is very active and he's very much into this lifestyle, and we keep each other in check. And he's helping me to lift more weights, and hopefully, by next year I'll be squatting like a motherfucker. An hour is a good amount of time for a workout if you're really giving her. Like, you want to be sweating, and although you think you can only sweat from like cardio, I lift and I am drenched by the end of my lift. Now I do a warm-up, I lift, and then I do cardio at the very end. And if you guys want me to go into more detail of exactly what I do or how I break up my workouts, I can do, obviously a secondary video answering your questions. As far as eating goes and what I eat and how often I eat it, I can totally dedicate a video to that. I can even do like what I eat in a day and vlog it all for you if that would be helpful. There's no such thing as a perfect diet. What people eat needs to be customized to their body, their goals, their allergies, their deficiencies. There's so many different variables, and it all depends on what your end goal is. And what works for me could not work for you, or what works for you doesn't work for me. If you're a vegan, a vegetarian, a meat eater, everybody has different preferences, everybody eats differently. The main goal is to cook food at home as much as possible and try to nourish your body. If you can even start by not eating out and cooking at home, you'd be doing yourself such a favor and such a service to your body. And it's not about eating less. There is a huge misconception, which I blame on the media, about restricting yourself and not eating as much. It's not about eating less, it's about eating right. You need to eat the right foods. Personally, I love eating. I eat about like 6 to 7 times a day. I eat small amounts often, and that has really worked for me, and it has sped up my metabolism. Try to be conscious of what is in your food as well. If you're gonna buy something that's packaged, likely it's processed. So read the back. Once I started reading the back of things, everything changed. You have to realize that unfortunately we live in a media and marketing dominated world where everything is gonna say fat-free, gluten-free. It's all shit to confuse you and to make you buy it and to make you think that it's good for you. Just because something is fat-free doesn't mean it's good for you. Just because it says gluten-free doesn't mean it's good for you. A fucking watermelon will say gluten-free. Well, no shit, it's a watermelon. Marketers, and this is where I hate my industry, they fool consumers, and this goes for every industry. It happens in makeup all the time. You'll see a mascara ad on the TV and it'll be like, oh my god, 4,000 times larger lashes. It'll pan to a model clearly wearing falsies in front of a green screen that like makes her lashes look huge and voluminous. That is their job. You notice sometimes you'll see a box of granola bars and it'll say fat-free, like 40,000 grams of fiber, and then you peep down and you see like 27 grams of sugar per one bar. Why not just go get a Snickers, really? They're taking healthy options and packing them with sugar, which defeats the whole purpose, which irritates me. And yeah, there are days where you just want to eat whatever you want to eat, and that's totally fine. Just don't make it a habit and don't make it your lifestyle. I just want to say something, and this goes for a lot of motivational videos. It's something that I sort of learned the hard way. You'll hear a lot of people say, you can do it. You can do anything you put your mind to. You can achieve this. You can achieve that. You can make all your dreams come true, etc., etc. And growing up, I always just thought like, yeah, totally, I can do it. But there's a huge difference between saying you can do it and actually doing it. And the reality is that a lot of people, yes, can do a lot of things, but a lot of people don't. And so that is why you need to be realistic with yourself, and you need to do this for the right reasons. Not so that you can fit into a dress next week, not so that you can look good in Cabo next month. You need to do this because you want to change your life, you want to change your lifestyle, and you want this to be a long-term change in your life, a lot of my friends, a lot of my close friends, yes, they could have done it. Yes, I was there every step of the way, and I tried to guide them in the best way that I could, but they didn't do it. They just slipped back into their old ways. And the reason is, I believe, they just weren't ready. And some people are not ready, and I wasn't ready for many years when I was yo-yo dieting and when I wasn't taking care of my body properly and when I was feeding it shit and I wasn't sleeping enough. I wasn't ready. I didn't have that light bulb moment. You reach that moment when you reach that moment, and some people may never reach that moment. Yes, you can totally change your life, but you have to be ready. You need to have that moment where you're like, okay, seriously, let's cut the bullshit and let's seriously do this for real. Not, you know, eat salad for like 7 days and then just go ham and binge on everything you see for the next like month. There's a lot of sacrifice that goes into, especially the beginning of when you want to start kind of getting into like fitness and stuff. I used to cancel plans. I used to ditch people. I used to not go out because I'd be like, nah, Friday night is like the quietest night at the gym. Why would I waste that? Nobody's there. I can totally get a sick pump in and then feel awesome. Prepare yourself to sacrifice. Prepare yourself to mentally argue with yourself. There are days where you just want to throw in the towel. You got to just mentally get through that and just see the long-term goal and keep your eye on the prize, and know that the first little bit is going to be so hard and it's your biggest test. The first little while is the hardest. It is when you're either going to make a change for real or you're going to fall off the wagon after 2 weeks. And I feel like a lot of people fall off the wagon because they don't see results right away. Don't put so much pressure on yourself and on your body. You've been living a certain way for like 20 years, let's say. You can't expect your body to change overnight or in like 2 weeks. You need to let it adapt to the situation, and you know, you need to slowly wean it on a healthy path. Otherwise you're gonna freak it out and you're not gonna see the results you wanna see. So don't be hard on yourself. Take it day by day. Be kind to yourself, and don't focus so much on seeing physical changes right away. I used to do that all the time. I used to start working out and start dieting. I used to be like, well, I'm dieting for the next month, which was a huge fucking waste of time. And after 2 weeks, I'd look in the mirror every single day, 5 times a day, and I wouldn't see any changes, and I'd be like, well, fuck it, I'm not seeing anything anyway. And that is the biggest mistake that 90% of the people that I talk to go through and experience, is that they give up because they don't see results right away. Know that you will see changes. Just trust the journey. I know it sounds cheesy as fuck, but just trust the process and you will eventually see changes, and when you do, it'll be so sweet and you'll be so happy that you didn't fall off the wagon and that you kept with it. So I just really feel like that is a huge point of this video, and I'm glad that I got it off my chest. And regarding supplements, that's a whole other video. Nothing beats eating well and exercising. If you don't have those two, you don't have anything. It doesn't matter how much money you spend on supplements. There are supplements out there that I have taken myself and I still do take, which I would highly recommend, which I can do another video on, specifically the supplements that I take and who I would recommend them for and why. I think I've covered pretty much everything that I want to cover for today. I hope that you found some sort of motivation from this video. These videos are not easy to do. It's a very personal experience for somebody to get into fitness and eating well. Everybody's gonna have a different opinion. Everybody's gonna have different ideologies and beliefs and whatnot. Anyways, it is now 2 in the morning and I am sweating my invisible balls off because I've been sitting here for like 2 hours trying to film this. I'm so glad I finally sat down and was able to finally get everything out. You guys have no idea how many times I've sat down and tried to film this video. So one last time, if you enjoyed this video and you want me to do a fitness and health series on my channel, let me know in the comments below. I can do videos on what I eat. I can do videos on supplements. I can do videos on, I don't know, like a Q&A of what you guys ask me. I can go through each and every one of your questions and answer them to the best of my ability. I can do a what I eat in a day. I can start filming recipes. The world is our oyster here. You guys just tell me what you want and I will try to deliver. If I have not yet posted the makeup tutorial for this look, it should be up very soon, so keep your eyes peeled for it. And if it's already been up, then I will likely link it in the description box below. I'll also link some other stuff in the description box below, like previous videos that you might enjoy, my social media platforms in case you guys want to hit me up. As always, thank you guys very much for watching, especially today. Thank you very much for subscribing, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.